people will say, hey, your Nexus letter needs to be as short as possible. That's not the case. In fact, it's the complete opposite. And one, there's no regulation on the Nexus letter or the DBQ outside of the M21 TAC 1 saying actionable and sufficient. That's the key word there, sufficient. It's got to be good enough, right? And so a paragraph from your doctor, sure, that's supporting evidence. Is that the equivalent of a Nexus letter? That answer is no. And I'm going to tell you why, right? Then this is why you need people, board certified specialists who understand evidence analysis. The VA's decision-making process is based on evidence. Believe it or not, it's not on a whim. It's not because they feel a certain way. It's based on evidence. And so when your Nexus letter lacks evidence, that Nexus letter all of a sudden becomes toilet paper, right? It's like, okay, thanks, right, doctor, for
it's barely opinion. Better than a self-statement, right? It's exactly. Like it's just barely better.
Exactly. And so you'll see, let's say I had migraines that started in 2014, right? And my tinnitus, which is reported in evidence, started in 2011 when I was in Afghanistan. And so just with those two dates, and I'm going to have more evidence throughout my service and currently like within the last year, what AME would do is say, okay, because this veteran had tinnitus reported by this doctor on this, on this pre-deployment health assessment, on this post-deployment health assessment, then later reported migraines and has a statement that tinnitus is leading to the migraines, it's aggravating the migraines, they're going to give the analysis piece behind my evidence. And then on top of that, they're also going to be linking, there's a joke in the medical community where a doctor goes to school for a long time to read medical journals. And that's kind of like the stupid joke that doctors think is funny. But that's true, right? Doctors know how to read scientific method medical journals. And so AME is also going to be linking various references that are up to date as to the aggravation piece of tinnitus and migraines. Now, that's just one example. There are a billion examples, okay? But that's the kind of evidence analysis that's needed for a Nexus letter. That can be 1 page long. It can be 10 pages long. What really dictates the length of your Nexus letter is your evidence. Ideally, you have a ton of it, right? If you have 1, 2 things, okay, well, you have something to work with. But yeah, that's really wanted to hit on the evidence analysis piece because that's what's gonna make a judge. And then you see the Supreme Court write the equipoise. If you have a Nexus letter that has a solid evidence analysis, you kick that to the board and you're facing what a CMP examiner, nurse practitioner versus a board certified psychiatrist that you have in your corner, you're going to win every time.
Yep.
Every time. Okay.
Right.
Now, should it go to the board? That answer is no. That's another topic. That's a VA process issue, right? But yeah, I think looking at it from the long-term board perspective, that's where you're really going to see evidence play a go or no go criteria, right? Yes or no.
Right.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. And that last part there, when I was in the claims world, it was always submitting what was called an FDC, which you're aware of, a fully developed claim. And it was really with the idea the staff in the office would work with veterans or spouses or whoever they were filing a claim for, with the idea of let's prepare for battle. Mm-hmm. Let's get everything in here that we need because we filed an intent to file. We have time. Let's take an extra couple months, right? And make sure that we have everything buttoned up in here. There's no questions. Everything is answered within the evidence that we're supplying. All of the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. We know that if it went to the board, we wouldn't even need to, there's nothing else to supply. It is just clearly a mistake on the, the VA just screwed up. They were lazy, they skipped over something, whatever it is. So having it done right up front will most likely result in the proper rating up front. The VA will still screw up. That happens. but the whole process will be much easier, and you're more likely to get it approved and rated at the appropriate rating the first go. And that eliminates stress and anxiety and all these other things that happen. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I have seen and had conversations with folks that filed things and gets rejected, and just the depression and the anxiety and the stress and the screw the VA and they don't care. And well, let's see what we filed, and let's take a look and see what they looked at so we can see why they ruled in that way. Oh, well, you have no in-service documentation of that condition. Yes, you have a diagnosis, and yes, you served, but you're not proving that it started or manifested due to anything related to your. We're missing all of that. So getting it done right is important. I wanted to shift here, Clay, to another common condition for veterans that could have that's low, typically a low rating that could warrant many secondaries. And you're going to love this one. Lower lumbar issues, right? Lower back pain, right? So you got that back pain, your back is killing you. Maybe it flares up sometimes and it's even worse. You went in and you got rated 10% or maybe 20, right? And at first blush, you're actually kind of irritated that it was such a low rating. Because why? You don't understand the rating schedule, and so you think it should be higher, but really you don't rate for that. You're actually rated appropriately at a 10%. But there are a host of secondary conditions that can fall from that lower back rating. So veteran A, Clay, veteran A goes in, I got a back issue, right? Okay, I get diagnosed for a back, whatever. Okay, file a claim, back, that's it. Filed, comes back, approved, back, great, 10%. VA sucks.